about almost 4 years ago, found myself going through divorce. In that relationship, married almost 20 years, I was not the person that made the financial decisions. I didn't really know a whole lot about our taxes. I didn't know anything about our 401k plans, or I didn't even know we were refinancing the house. Just went to those appointments. I took care of a lot of other things on the back end, but left the financial advice to my husband at the time, and then came to moving forward and getting divorced. And I had no clue really where to go from there, and even like who to trust. It was really, really hard to find people that you could bring into this really difficult situation and trust their opinions and their advice. So I found myself reaching out and trying to get advice on, what do I do? Do I take out a HELOC? Do I listen to that person's advice? Do I try to buy my husband out? Do I let my ex-husband try to buy me out? Like, that was another one that the lawyer had ideas about if it was a good idea or not. Because we had 3 kids. We had 2 dogs in this house, and we both loved the house.
So when it comes specifically to the house, right, what options do you kind of get at the end when you're deciding to divide up assets?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do a HELOC, correct, to pay off the other half side, right? I think the thing when it comes to HELOCs are really cheap to be able to do.
Yeah.
They're typically like $500 or $1,000, right? And you'll get up to typically 80, maybe 90% of the total value of that house. And you'll be able to use that. And typically it's at an adjustable rate. I think that's the big thing for people to know. So if you do a HELOC back in 2021, it's at 3%, you're probably at 8% now. So I think that's a really important part for people to know. When you do a HELOC, know that rate's going to change over time. Other thing that you can do, right, is the cash out refi option, right? So you can refinance the property or refinance out the other half. But the thing is your mortgage balance is going to change and your interest rate's going to change, right? So I think those are kind of your 2 options when it comes to, hey, keeping the house. Now, I think the question is when do you think it makes sense for somebody to keep the house and go through a HELOC or a cash out refi, or using obviously probably other funds that they may have, right? Retirement funds to go, hey,
savings. We
really want to keep this house. I have to pay out this other side. You go that route. When do you say, hey, we shouldn't keep this house? How did you guys make that decision, I guess? But
well, like when you decide when you shouldn't keep the house, I think the value increased super high for us. We bought a beautiful house that needed a lot of work, and we did it. We put some money into it and remodeled it in 2022. Substantially had grown, like worth a lot of money. And so we couldn't afford
to do a cash out refi or a HELOC. It would have been hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the mortgage payment would have been way too much.
Way too much.
Right.
Yeah.
So the time to sell it is really like, hey, we don't have the option of being able to come up with enough funds to pay off the other side. It doesn't make sense for us to keep it, which I feel like is probably a pretty big contention point for a lot of people, because everybody would probably want to keep that house. And do everything they can to and make a mistake to go, I will take my life savings and do a HELOC and do everything I possibly can to keep this house. And I think that advice, or talking to somebody that you trust to kind of go, hey, should I do this? What is this going to cost me? What is the long-term ramification? Does it make more sense for me to cut ties with this property if I had a different one, which you guys ultimately decided to do, right? So switching over to going into another property, do you think that was the most sense for you guys?
Yeah, totally. We decided that neither of us could really afford to take on the whole house, including like the taxes and insurance and just maintaining the house. And then the kids were getting a little bit older. They were understanding the situation. There was stress in the house and stress on the kids, but it worked out better for us to kind of cut it and just be done. And we both went separate ways. It worked out in the end really well for us. It was actually a really good financial decision moving forward for us to have sold the house and completely severed that ties and kind of started fresh.
I think the big thing about keeping the house too is understanding, like, hey, you may have to get new insurance, and insurance may go up, taxes. And I think I have this come up a fair often, times when it comes to a grandparent or family member gifting a house to somebody, doing a contract for deed where it's an amazing deal for the children or for the person that's buying it, right? Where I think it maybe in this case, like, it would have been an amazing deal to get it and try to keep it and stuff, the interest rate's low. But then when you factor in the taxes, the insurance, the cost of maintenance on a larger home, the utility bills, there's that where I've seen it where like, yeah, we got this free house from grandma and grandpa. Of course we took it. And it's like, this is way more space. This is so much cost to upkeep. Like, you would have been better off not taking it and just selling it and moving into something else that actually fit what you were looking for, even though this is an amazing deal. I have one of those right now, actually, where it's like, I don't know if these kids should take this house on, even even though they're going to get a steal of a deal on it, like living and maintaining that house is going to be really difficult. So I think understanding that for somebody going through that situation. But I think when it comes to the buy side, knowing like if you close on a new property before the divorce is finalized, is making sure that that's all understood. In Minnesota, it's 1 to buy, 2 to sell. So as soon as you buy that, and the next time you sell that, like there's going to be a marital interest, even though it was if it got finalized afterwards. The other thing too, I think for people to note is if you haven't finalized a divorce and you are selling a property, they will have to sign, right? So you could be separated from somebody for 15 years, but still legally married. They have to be a part of the selling process. They have to sign the listing paperwork. They have to sign closing disclosure. They have to be there, right? So even if you go, hey, we've been separated for a really long time. She wasn't even in the picture when we bought this house, right? Still, when it comes to sell, that's going to come up. But I think one of the things you can do, I think would have been really helpful for you during that time period is obviously to be able to reach out to somebody to go, hey, how do I find the value of this house? Right? Where a divorce attorney will tell you what you can do, right? And give you the ideas, but maybe not take it any farther. Right? Which is also probably a really scary time in your life, right? To go, who do I trust? How do I do this? But knowing that one appraisal is a decent idea to do. You can have
not super expensive.
It'd be like $600. You can have an appraisal come out there, and then you have no risk of them trying to sell you on, hey, you should sell your property. Getting a real estate agent might get a little bit different feel, but I think having an appraiser out there is a good, clean cut way to go, hey, here's where it's at. Hard to argue. Perfect. We can do it that way.
But what is the appraiser's opinion is going to be different than...
You're exactly right. Okay, this is very true. Like when it comes to an appraisal, you'd be amazed how many variations you can get from an appraisal, right? They aren't typically looking at what market value is, which is obviously the thing that you're going to try to determine during that time period for the most part is going, do we sell this? How much would it cost on the open market kind of thing? That's where a real estate agent, a little bit more adept to going, this is what the market value of it is. Here's what an appraiser might say of what the value of it is to a bank. But in reality, we're looking for, if you put this on the market, this is what I would sell for. But I think the two routes you go when it comes to, hey, going through that situation, you do an appraisal or you reach out to a real estate agent. I know Lindsay would do this, for somebody who's doing, what we like to do for somebody is we just have the address and kind of know, we put a video together to go, hey, here's what it looks like. Here's what it might be at real estate market value. And we don't even try to ask you to list the house, right? You just want to know what it is. We don't have to go out there. We don't have to tell you anything. Here it is. And I think for you, obviously going through that situation, the last thing you probably want during that time period is a greedy real estate agent going, hey, I'm going to list your property today. Like, I'm going to do this, right? We're going to put this on the market. Like, I don't want that at all. I'm already going through enough. Can you just give me some advice and don't call me 17 times? There is a way, I think, to be that is helpful in those scenarios. But I think the few things you have to know is going, is a cash out refi actually make the most sense? Does a HELOC make the most sense? Should we actually sell this? What does that look like? Because there's like 17 steps in between that. To go, what are we selling this house for? How much are we going to take away? How much is it going to cost me to buy? What does that rate look like? What do my new payments look like? You have to do all those things within like 6 months. So I think having somebody helpful in your corner would made that a little bit easier, at least, with a difficult situation.
It's an extremely overwhelming, stressful situation. Your emotions are all over the place and you're just looking, not a friend, but just somebody that you can trust and not a sales pitch and not somebody that's out here bringing, wanting to pump you steam up. Like just somebody to trust and talk to and bounce ideas off of. And then, it is nice to have somebody help make you a plan because everything else you have to figure out that's not even just selling the house. There's 1,000 other things that have to come into play. And so it's just like, can I talk to you and can I trust you? And can you show me what a plan kind of looks like to guide my choices and make it feel or like help me understand my choices, but allow me to make them. I don't need you to tell me what to do. Allow me to bounce ideas and you to give me your professional advice or, your opinions and then work with me through the ideas. That would be the most helpful.
So I think if you're going through a situation like that, Lindsay's a perfect person to be able to reach out to for that advice, right? Or anybody on this team to be able to guide you through those things without the sales pitch after. I think knowing just how sensitive those topics are and what those things are of going as a team lead, talking with agents on how they speak with their clients. I think that knowing how sensitive those situations are is give them the advice and let it be and wait to see kind of what happens, right? So it's always advice first. There's never the pitch. There's always, how can I help? Do the help and let them come up with their own decisions for sure.
Right.
But if that ever comes up for anybody that's hearing this, reach out to one of us and give us a chance to be able to kind of guide or give best advice, right? From somebody who's been through it before.
Yeah.
So.